Our discussion on the Third Thursday networking event moved around trade shows, communities, and networking. But first, we recognized an industry great in Tom Blazek, who passed us too soon. Let's
First
join
day
in
was
progress.
good. The second day of the trade show, there was almost no booth traffic because everybody who wanted to walk the booth did it the first day. So that was unfortunate that there weren't more people milling about. But I think day one was excellent. So it was exciting to see that happening. And
It's funny, just the whole idea of booths. Before COVID, people badmouth trade shows and exhibits all the time. That there wasn't the value in it. Now today that they're not doing them as much, we can't. They just can't wait to get back. I just find it funny. Alexis, what are you seeing? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to bounce in. A lot of people tried to do that virtual trade show thing, and I never saw that work. I never saw that being a value to people like me to purchase a space in a virtual space and have people visit you online. Has anybody seen that actually work? So in other words, it really is a scam, as I
And
suspected.
David, it doesn't work. And there's actually a reason for this. And it's because B2B marketplaces only work when you've got people who are solution seekers and they're actively looking for that particular solution. At a virtual trade show, they're all marketed as content vehicles. So people go to listen to that speaker and hop off. And there isn't a moment in the marketing of that event that entices people to start to become solution seekers. So there's no conversion moment. And that's why these exhibitors lose out from these virtual events.
The only way it works I've seen is if you gamify it and you give them a passport program, or you incentivize people where they really need to visit all the booths, and there's a incentive for doing so.
Right, but that doesn't necessarily make them leads that actually will convert into actual commercial sales. So it's really, in my mind, it's whoever controls the content wins. So if you're an exhibitor that is speaking or producing some kind of white paper, you stand a much better chance of, having your booth visited, your virtual booth visited. But otherwise, you're just a sitting duck on a B2B, platform.
Yeah, and I haven't done much of them, but I also don't think they work very well in wedding shows because that's a lot of our market. And a typical wedding show, you're right, people are there because they're getting married and they're looking to buy flowers or something. But I think Marchmore is quite right. There's no incentive for people to bop around into these little virtual spaces to meet with the salesman. It's like inviting somebody that sells life insurance to your home every night. It's not a pleasant thing. And maybe it's because, at a live show, they're not stuck with you. They can have a lot of things going on at once. But I guess it begs the question of the future of virtual events if the trade show thing is not going to be a profit source.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why we're talking about communities. Okay, because the community is a platform that gathers people that have a like interest, and figuring out how to make it engaging and interesting is that 365-day-a-year trade show or safe space that people go to for that particular industry. And so people aren't going to do something, though, that they're not going to go to a site every day and check it unless it's something they want to do. And so for everyone, I can't speak to your motives, but I can speak to my motives. One is business, one is earning a living, the other one is enjoying myself and having fun. Okay, and so fun means different things to different people. But I did something the other day that I used to have on my phone and I don't have it. And so as we come into the second part of this, I'm going to share my screen again. Can you see what we're looking at right here?
Yep.
All right. So on your phone, if you've got an iPhone, and not everybody has an iPhone, you can go to screen time. It's the shot to the first shot to the left. You can hit screen time. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And then every week or every day, it'll send you a list of how you spent your phone time. And you can connect it to your computer so that it's looking at all your digital platforms. And now I'm kind of embarrassed by the first thing that I spent my time on, which was games. So I blocked that out in my list, which I've only had up there for a day and a half. I used to have it all the time. But I spent 37 minutes on camera, 18 minutes on Facebook, Safari, Outlook, LinkedIn, estate sales. The point of it is I can tell you what I like to do, but is it what I'm doing? Do you know what I mean by that? What I like to do isn't necessarily what I should be doing, want to do, or think I'm doing. And so the idea of a community is kind of hitting the interest of people and understanding really what do they want to do with their time. So I put up some things as work-related training, events, education. I put free time, family, health, TV, social media. So I want you guys to help me expand this list as we sit here right now. And blurt out some things that you do with your time, whether it's business or social. This is our think tank.
Can I actually share, sorry, can I deviate for 1 second with a perspective? So one thing about my background is I came from the consumer packaged good world. So I've been a business strategist for over 20 years before I turned entrepreneur. And so I worked for Kraft, Nestle, Kimberly-Clark, Miller Coors, a lot of, the big players. And the one thing that they do well that the association landscape and the trade organizers do not do is prioritize what the term omni-channel. And I think it's in part because they don't understand what it means. But the reason why an omni-channel presence is so successful for big brands is because they focus on delivering a consistent message across a multitude of touch points. So to your point, Jim, about having so many different areas of interest, if an organization's going to be effective, they need to hit you across different areas. So it's not just about a community as a singular force. It's not about a virtual event. It's not about a live event. It's not about white papers or micro events. It's hitting people across all of these different mechanisms. I'm going to call you out, David Fletcher. I don't hate LinkedIn. I think it has its time and its place.
I know.
It's funny. I do dislike it for a whole multitude of reasons. But the thing is, LinkedIn is great to push a message. Here's our event. Sign up on this date. Here's a link, right? But it's not truly getting people to actually engage and be like, cool, hey, Erica, let's join this since we're both Ericas, all that kind of stuff. But really an organization needs to be thinking about this strategically. What are the different touch points like Jim laid out that we need to be able to hit, and how do we hit it effectively? Even though I'm now making a living and betting everything I have on this campfire social philosophy, I don't think that it's the end all be all. It's a piece of the puzzle. Just like events are a piece of a puzzle.
If I can chime in, it's interesting, Erica, because I've seen through the pandemic, through the last, because I'm a vendor provider, I'm very heavily network active. MPI, ILEA, Site, Tuesdays Together, WIPA, ABC, you name it. And yeah. What I've seen is two ends of the spectrum. Is some of these organizations try to do too many things for too many people, and then they don't do any of them well. So the people, or they don't have their finger on the pulse. And so MPI, for instance, is networking. It is trying to provide business to vendors, but also it's education. But they're not really following up. Like, if your priority is to get business from being a member, is it happening? Are people referring you? And so we see people leave. And then on the total opposite end of the spectrum, we saw the collapse in LA of an amazing group called Click, which is a venue-based networking group. And to be a member, you had to be a catering or sales or event manager at a venue. And of course, during the pandemic, everyone got laid off, and the group, I mean, it went from just being such a robust group to that we had a Zoom call last week and there were 6 people on the call. And part of that also is some people are not coming because not everyone is bounced back yet. Some people are in a place of where maybe they carry some shame, or like I don't want to show up because I don't have anything good to say. And that's also where I feel groups are not doing the outreach to say, hey, just come, we just want to see you and let us know how we can help you.
Mhm.
It's been really fascinating to see the two ends of the spectrum, kind of how those things have failed.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, it's easy for this kind of plan to fail, but that's where there's experts. And I think organizations need to know when to bring in an expert to help them. Corporates do. If you just put, any average marketer, in a role, they're not going to be an expert on how to create the right touch point. It takes research. It takes understanding your audience to make sure that you're hitting it right. And it's a lot of trial and error. But in the CPG world, like, I had flexibility in my budget to mess up. So if I was leading a team, leading an initiative, and it didn't work, we gave it a shot and we moved on. I know that for many organizations, budgets are tight, but I think that they need to be a little bit more flexible to just try different things, because things can work. But I'm opinionated, sorry.
Most of us are. So interesting, a consistent message through multiple channels is what is one of the things. No, that's one of the things that I heard from that. Also, the omni-channel. So of those channels, maybe I didn't grasp that, of those things that you do, that you're willing to spend your time on, are you guys willing to share what you spend your time on? Whether it's business or work, is most of your time spent on networking and soliciting for work? Is it spent on training or education? What are you spending your time on?
I can start. I don't mind sharing my calendar because I put lunch on my calendar and use the bathroom. I really just have to do things like crazy just to keep on track. But I would say that I'll start with the struggle, because I feel like we all have some type of a struggle. I can get very much focused and busy to go through all my emails, all my commitments, all my meetings, and all of that. I have this expectation of myself to reply to someone in a 2-hour window. And I stick to that because I think communication and being available, and even if I can provide an answer or I can provide necessarily a solution right then and there, at least I can, I get back to them right away saying I'm working on it. I got it. I know that I hear you. So with that in mind, I feel like networking for me is fun. I meet people, I talk to people, but I don't necessarily put myself out there. I have a hard time just like selling myself or selling my services. So on that regard, as you were asking, Jim, I don't know if I spend enough time on doing that purposely without like sounding salesy, like sell, whatever the word is. And I need to figure out a way around it because my time is mostly spent on content creation, like you said, Erica, omni-channel, just going and different places that I focus on, which is mostly LinkedIn, Instagram. I rarely do Facebook. I feel like Facebook is such a waste of time because it's just not for my business. But I'm very specific about that content and Twitter and the audience that's there and what type of information I want to feed to all of those. And and then I care a whole lot about, my mental state. So I would spend 3 hours at the gym without feeling guilty about it every single day. Because I feel like that will get me into a better space mentally and especially creatively. On the days that I feel like I can't do that, I have a creator's block. Like I just can't come up with anything original. And that sucks. It's like it's really hard when you have that, like, man, like I just can't, there's nothing in there. Like, hey, come up with something. Nothing. I guess my challenge, bringing it all around, is from a business perspective, taking that networking to another level where it can provide leads without being like seller, like selling stuff. Just, and I think organically, I love just doing networking for the purpose of just knowing people, for the purpose of just getting to find out what people are struggling with and how maybe we can support each other in that case. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but I do schedule the crap out of that calendar. That's all I'm gonna say.
Thank you for sharing with us. That was definitely insightful.
I'm curious if any of you were thinking about doing maybe a day off and only work like 4 days a week, and then keep one day to be your, like, I don't know, off creative day. Because I'm kind of like thinking about doing that as more purposely than just working 5 freaking days a week, sometimes 6 or
Best thing
7.
about owning a business is you're in charge of your schedule.
No, the worst thing about owning a business is that you are in charge of your schedule and you're the worst boss that you've ever had.
I agree. It's the last year or two has really been a focus on the scarcity versus abundance mindset, because that really affects how you prioritize your time. And after 15 years of a successful business, I didn't realize until I worked with a business coach how much I operate from a scarcity mindset still. And it's just like, am I open? Book it. Am I open? Book it. And then realizing now I'm sick and I'm overworked and I'm miserable, as you said, the feast or famine thing. So I think that really plays into it, is if you're in an abundance mindset, then you make your decisions differently.
And what's the state of mind for that? Like, just if you want to give it just a
well, the scarcity mindset. So I'll just speak to me, like, as they say, my truth. I mean, I grew up in a very poor household, and it's my whole life, no matter how many events, how much is in the bank account, how much is on the calendar, it's a feeling of never feeling secure. So just and the FOMA. If I don't go to every networking event, people will forget we exist, and then we'll never get any work ever again. And that's the narrative in the head. And if we can logically stop and talk yourself off a ledge, that's not true. But I make my business made, not so much anymore, but would make the business decisions that way. Booking everything, sponsoring. Hey, can you sponsor this event? Oh, for free? Sure, we'll do it. So the abundance mindset is more of just having a mantra of I am in abundance. Work is coming to me. I can say no, and it's empowering. And I can pass on a networking event, or I can pass on an opportunity and know that that's good self-care, and that that time will be better used. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is really looking at your actions and the results from them, and having a confidence. For example, in the abundance model, if you really had the confidence, you might price differently on Saturdays than you do on Tuesdays. In fact, Saturdays in October, it's 3 times the normal rate. but that's what hotels do, and that takes a lot of confidence to do that. But it's interesting. All of this is interesting because we only live in our own worlds. I mean, you know, Anka's talking about the 3 hours working out. Gosh darn it, I wish I had this, but I do. I will golf for 4.5 hours and my mind will clear, and I'll walk the course, but my mind is clear, and I'm never more creative than when I'm golfing. Okay? And so we all have our things. And today it's a little different, though. I mean, today's world's different. And so really what I'm at, if we're going to build a community that works for everybody, we need to really generalize but be specific about the omni-channels that people have. You know, what is our community's way of communicating, top 5, 6, and are we hitting them, not just live events? And more than saying what we think it is, what are you doing with your time? And so our self-help, we're not mentioning that, but I bet you each of us have our own self-help regimen that we work on to a point, whether it's working out or it's golfing. Okay, but it's that mental or physical side. So what are your things that you think are unique or not so unique in that area too? And I'm done talking because I'm sick.
Not sure I get the question.
So when I put up on the screen, where am I spending my time online?
Mm-hmm.
What are the things that you guys are doing? I mean, we all get so many emails and so many invites to free events that we can go to. But what are you actually doing with your time beyond the absolutes of your work?
Well, there's lots of activities. Gosh, I can't even begin to. I have a things to do list, and I write them all down. This is today's list. You can't really see it, but there it is. That's anyhow. So there's that list, and then there's things on the calendar, right? Things on the calendar I've sort of classified into things like I could miss, like a virtual meeting. Sorry, Jim, but I can't because they're recorded. I can always go watch a recording, and it's like, why be there now if I can't even meet anyone? That's my feeling about it. So if I want the education, I can always go get it. And I've got a good repository of that. But with my day, I mean, I work at home. I have worked at home for the past decade or more. And it's enjoyable. I actually love it because, you know, I have to take time to do things around the house, you feed the fish or whatever, right? But I'm also doing all kind of projects on the side all the time, as you know, whether it's a music gig, setting up a thing there, or, you know, and I get pleasure out of that, although it's kind of work, you know, you might think of it that way, but it's a creative endeavor. I think of my work as being creative as well. So when I sit down in a creative moment and I think, how can I do things that meet my customers' needs and expectations, which are in the customer experience realm? I want to exceed all that. You know, it's fun to think about. You know, I've had these plans for a while. I'm looking forward to executing in the spring. But setting that up, and then I get joy out of connecting with people and out of making those contacts and finding speakers and getting sponsors and all that. But then again, I know when to cut it off. And I have for years, ever since I started my company in '84, I've been taking every August off. I took the European model on that. I used to have to travel to 22 countries a year for 20 something years. And you know, you get habits, you develop habits, you develop timing. You sort of say, well, what's important to me is what's important. You know, is it answering emails? I do that certain times a day. And some people are like, I'll send you an email. I say, I'll get to it. You know, I do some in the morning, I do some in the late afternoon. The rest of the time is meeting people and enjoying the day. I mean, it's really a mindset. Speaking of mindset, one little touch on that. When I decided in July to postpone my events that were scheduled for the fall, I kind of looked at myself basically, and I said, you know, I should do more research work because I haven't done any during the whole pandemic. I've been thinking it's going to come back. I'm going to do something online. People are going to pay money to come to an online event. Yeah. So I decided at that point in my mind, I said, I want research companies. And this goes to the state of mind of being positive, right? I just thought I need some research clients. Within about 2 weeks, I had 5 good requests for proposals, unsolicited, didn't do anything to advertise it, didn't put anything on social, didn't put any emails out, didn't make a call. Just in my mind, I said, I need some research clients. Now I'm busy with those research clients. I got nothing. I don't know how it works. It's a universe. Put your intentions out there.
Interesting. Well, glad to hear you got some business coming in, and it sounds like a lot of your time is also spent on creative endeavors.
Yeah, my whole life, I'd prioritize that over most anything. That's one of the reasons I don't care for research. I have to write a report. I like doing the interviewing and all that. I just don't like to write reports. But I've changed my report style. They're in videos and things now. So, shorter is better.
Alexis, interesting to hear about your comments on the site. So thank you for sharing those. That you actually like networking this way a little bit better. It's a little bit easier, right?
It is. I think that there's a wide number of us who have been closeted introverts who forced ourselves for years to go to these things because it was what was the acceptable and the only option for doing it. But for a lot of us who are more comfortable not being in a sea of hundreds of people in a banquet hall somewhere, in the opportunities to be able to network like this, or jump on a Zoom call and do one-to-ones, or have the opportunity for more of actually using our devices to call somebody and not just using it as a miniature computer in our pockets. I've returned to that and never been so happier, because now I'm not as much soliciting my clients or selling them. I'm back to building relationships with them. And so they're truly thinking of me when they need something. And I'm truly thinking of them when we find the right match that I think might appeal to them, because our relationships have been deeper than that 5-second conversation over a happy hour in a convention space at some point.
That's awesome. That's great. And I believe in that fully. I think a lot of pure selling can be shallow, but real interest in people and what they do, and even what Mark's saying, those creative endeavors. You know what I'm saying is, if we can find things that we all like to do, it's no longer work. I mean, honest, it's no longer work. And who wants to be in absolute work mode? I mean, I don't know many people. And I know a few of you from this call. I don't know many people that would rather be working than, let's say, their creative endeavor. I can't speak for everyone. And it's the pure mixing of all of that together and finding a way to make that, that creativity, that fun into bringing that to a higher percentage of lives. So, Jolene, let's hear. We've got a few more minutes left. Let's hear from Madrid.
Sure, and what I spend my time on. Okay, so I mean, I guess I just got my own team. So lately, I've been doing a lot of training, and then I try to remember the fact that I'm 25 years old and living in Madrid, so I need to go out and do things, of course. So I, try to keep a really good balance with it. But yeah, I mean, I think, we have to change the perspective a little bit as well when it comes to virtual events, and look for different ways we can provide solutions, because absolutely right. I mean, it can get a little complicated, and it's not the most appealing thing in the world. Going to like a virtual trade show, trying to get everyone like that. Absolutely. I think that, there's a lot of strategy that has to go on, and a different way to shift it and try to create, instead of, an event, a solution instead. And so I've also been spending time on that and strategizing, with my team and my management on different ways that we can, make something a little bit different. So yeah.
Very nice. Thank you. I'm going to give you, Erica, the final word today as we hit 1:30 and the mark, because I loved our time talking together, and the rest of the interview will come out. But what do you want to share with the group?
Wow, I've shared a lot with the group. I mean, really, just when it comes down to community, it cannot be a check off, a list checker, kind of moment. There has to be strategy and real thinking behind the development of a community. I mean, I think it's very important to have one, but don't just have it to have it. And I know that that's a little bit, vague, but it's the truth. And that's where so many communities go wrong, is they just have a community. And I like that, the conscious community. I'm going to put my email in the chat. So if anybody ever wants to, speak further, I'm always open to it.
Thank you. Please, everybody, do put your emails in the chat. If you want to share it with everybody, that's totally your call. And I thank each of you for being here today and being active. David, very disappointed in you. You weren't as witty as you usually are. I think.
Hey, I was trying in the chat. I mean, come on.
David, let me go back and look at it.
Well, I think the conversation is so scintillating that I was not bored at all. And just to interject something, I commend you, Jim, on organizing these talks. I got to tell you, I'm not seeing this kind of discussion in any of the other associations where there's a discussion of ideas. And I think to Erica's point, that's how you build community. So many of the associations are saying, well, we'll show you a webinar, or you can play a trivia game, or you can share your elevator speech. But it's so rare that people are actually, having an actual discussion as we did here. So I commend you, Jim, and others. I think this is great. I wish I could get the other associations that I'm involved with to be here and witness this. Because as you know, we've been coming for a while. We've shared this with other people. We said, come watch what Jim does and how that discussion goes. And that's what you should be doing in your virtual meetings.
Thank you. And instead of telling other people to do it, have them come and join us. And
yeah.
I'm going to end with this. A lot of us here have businesses. All of us here are in business. And so the only thing I'll share is, you know what? If you've got that lead, you've got that opportunity, please talk to people on the call, okay? At least give them a shot at it, okay? And talk. I enjoy talking to each one of you. I've had calls with just about everybody here, and if we have. And I do have an intent to, I want your success. Your success, it's like Vidal Sassoon. Need I say more? Maybe to Celine, I have to say more because you're not old enough to know the commercial. Connie, anybody want to share Vidal Sassoon's saying? Am I the only one that knows it? The guy's the only one that knows Vidal Sassoon's saying?
I'm having trouble. My internet is not that best, and I'm not.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Isn't it? If you don't look good, we don't look good.
That's it. Okay. If you don't look good, we don't look good. And it's really about how do we help each other look good in today's world? How do we, let's be positive. How do we help each other succeed? Because that's so much better than helping people fail or watching them fail. Okay? Got to change our mentality as people. And I'm feeling better, so I'm done for the day. I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my afternoon.
It's a real gift to share, not just vertically, but horizontally, to reach out and be generous with your time and your expertise with people who may or may not be able to benefit you right at that moment, but you never know down the road when they'll be able to send something your way whether it be a connection or an opportunity or just an endorsement.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity to participate in the interview and just meeting you all. This is a really fun group. I have to say, this is like the highlight of my day so far, probably week. So.
Well, I appreciate that. You're on Chicago time, so that was 11:30 to 12:30. Now, if Celine, who's at 6:30 there or whatever, would have said that, it meant more. It's the whole day.
Right.
So,
Okay.
at the end of the day.
Good point. Good. If it helps, I've been working since 6 a.m.
Very good. All right. Awesome. Awesome. Please connect with each other, help each other out. Send me notes, suggestions, or anything so that we can be better. I am completing the newsletter for the month of October. I'm kind of tardy on that. So if you have any thoughts or ideas, please share them with me. All right. Have a good one, everybody.
Ciao,
Take
ciao.
care. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.